Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm your host, Matt Jewell, content marketing writer here at Feedvisor. I'm very excited for this afternoon's presentation where we will examine the upcoming holiday season and why Amazon businesses should start preparing their strategies now for the critical final quarter of the year. Joining me to offer her expert insights on holiday selling is Malvika Nayak, Senior Director of Brand Management at Thrasio. Malvika, it's great to speak with you today. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself and Thrasio?
Hi, absolutely. Like Matt said, I am Malvika. I am Senior Director of Brand Management. Before we get into myself and my role, a little bit about Thrasio for those of you who may not be familiar. So Thrasio is the largest acquirer of Amazon businesses. We have been around since 2018 and to date manage a little bit over 140 brands, which is absolutely crazy. We've raised almost $2 billion in capital, which has really helped fuel these acquisitions. And our value proposition is really we acquire brands, we optimize them and grow them just to the next level. So here's just kind of a chart of the overall structure and where I sit, just to give you a little bit of the landscape. So brand management is really at the heart of the business here at Thrasio. We are the P&L owners and day-to-day operators of our brands. So we set pricing and we make all of the strategic decisions that ultimately impact our bottom line. But of course, we can't do that alone. We collaborate really closely with our cross-functional teams, including supply chain, marketing, creative, and customer service, just to name a few. My role is I oversee a portfolio of brands at Thrasio, about 50 of them, and I have a team of almost 40 brand managers who run the day-to-day operations of the brand.
Awesome. Thank you, Malvika. We are so thrilled to have you with us today to talk through, obviously holiday selling, Q4, and also learnings from Prime Day. So let's take a look at this agenda real quick. Our webinar today is going to feature exclusive fourth quarter growth projections for Amazon and e-marketplaces, as well as key takeaways from this year's Prime Day, as I was alluding to. Later on in our presentation, Malvika will take a deep dive into the annual Amazon shopping event, examining what worked, what didn't work, and how these results should inform your approach to creating impactful holiday strategies that really drive results. And finally, we hope you'll walk away from today's webinar with a better understanding of all the important factors that are influencing the 2021 holiday season, equipped with specific strategies that brands and retailers can leverage to mitigate risks while maximizing Q4 sales and growth. So what should we expect in Q4? Before we explore specific holiday strategies, let's first take a look at the data. What should Amazon businesses expect this quarter, and why is the final quarter so important? Well, when we examined last year's performance, it was clear that the e-commerce landscape as a whole benefited greatly from the shift in consumer behavior that was driven largely by the pandemic. E-marketplaces and Amazon in particular were big winners. Amazon's 2020 Q4 sales grew by 42% year over year, with leading brands and retailers in categories like electronics, beauty, and personal care, as well as grocery seeing the biggest growth. Feedvisor customers in particular also saw 43% growth in Q4 versus our pre-COVID benchmarks. Now, of course, I don't think any of us knew exactly what to expect from 2021. Of course, brick and mortar stores are reopening, but e-commerce is still growing at a significant rate amid the ever-evolving pandemic situation. According to the Department of Commerce, Q1 of 2021 was a great quarter for e-commerce as a whole, with sales up 39.1% year over year. Meanwhile, total sales, retail sales increased by just 16.8% during that same time period. Again, when we look at Q1 of this year, Amazon was a major winner with year-over-year sales growing by 41%, which is huge. And our analysts here at Feedvisor anticipate accelerated growth in the second half of 2021 versus Q1, reaching about 48.5% if current market conditions are maintained in Q4. But obviously, if restrictions are once again placed on in-person retail shopping, we could see those figures go up to 58.5%. Now, another variable to consider in this equation is how larger retailers are planning for major holiday shopping events like Thanksgiving. Many of the big stores like Walmart, Target, and Best Buy have already announced that they are going to be closed during that holiday, which has traditionally been a busy and profitable day for retailers in years past. However, with so much uncertainty around new COVID strains and how they will affect reopening efforts, we expect Amazon and e-marketplaces to continue to grow by a significant margin in Q4 2021 compared to Q4 of last year. And overall, we project a growth rate of 25% to 32.5% year over year for Q4, with a high of up to 40% should restrictions on retail reemerge. And all of these factors mean that businesses need to start preparing their strategies for the holidays in Q4 now if they want to capitalize on this significant growth opportunity. Now, before I hand things off to Malvika, who will go more in depth into holiday selling strategies and Thrasio's takeaways from this year's Prime Day, I wanted to quickly go over some of the key lessons that Feedvisor learned during this year's Amazon event. Overall, I don't think it's a secret that Prime Day results for 2021 were a bit more muted. The move from October to June likely played a big role in dampening those numbers, as Prime Day did not get the gift buying boost it received last year when it was held during the beginning of Q4. Additionally, inventory restrictions and supply chain delays also are playing a big role, as many brands and retailers held off on participating in promotions for Prime Day due to a lack of inventory and Amazon storage limits. But I think the main takeaway here at Feedvisor for us is that we saw the importance of advertising and its role in driving sales, because despite current market conditions, we saw ACOS rose and Feedvisor's clients who invested in advertising, though, despite these rising costs and rise in ACOS and different things, they actually received a great lift during Prime Day sales, up 25%, which is proof that not only does advertising on Amazon work, but it's essential to driving results around key shopping events like the holidays. Now, one quick question for our audience as I hand things over to Malvika. Has your Amazon business started preparing yet for the holiday season? Please let us know in the poll provided here. Give everyone a moment to weigh in. Okay, so some of these poll numbers, it looks like a good majority, about 60%, have already started your holiday prep, which is great to see. Obviously, you want to get started as early as possible. Okay, I think now I'll be passing things over to Malvika to share with us her Prime Day learnings and holiday selling tips.
Cool. Thanks, Matt. So yeah, let's start with Prime Day 2021. Thrasio had an awesome Prime Day, to be honest. We saw 60% growth year over year versus, for the same brands last year during Prime Day. 45 of our brands had their best sales day ever, which was incredible. But we also learned a lot. One of the important parts of our values that we hold at Thrasio is that we test and learn at all times. And so while a lot of things worked, some that didn't. And that's why, it was a prep for what's coming up in Q4 and the holiday season. So some of the things that we learned, and I'll get into some of that a little bit later as we prep for Q4, but inventory and demand planning. Forecasting is absolutely so important. We've done this months in advance in order to make sure our orders are placed with our suppliers. We're managing and sending inventory at the right time, especially with restrictions, and we're making tough decisions when necessary, whether it's having to cancel deals or maybe not run them, or not being able to send inventory and having to prioritize certain ASINs. Those are definitely things that we had to learn, and now we're preparing for in Q4. Another thing we learned is just making sure well in advance we're tightening up our listings and planning any strategies and tactics to gain rank and visibility. We're not waiting till the week or two before. So whether it's improving your review rating, or improving rank on some of your top keywords, or looking at category placement, those are all really important things that you want to do well in advance before the big day. And then when it comes to deals, definitely sign up for the deals that are available to you. And you can always make a decision later, as long as it's within the cancellation period, if you have the ability, the margins, the inventory to run the deals. And then, it's not just about Prime Day or the big day. It's about maintaining that growth and velocity. So it's, move fast with competitive pricing, keep PPC, increase PPC after Prime Day or after the holiday event to continue to sustain rank and velocity. and really just do whatever you can to keep the momentum going, whether it's adding a coupon or, watching what your competitors are doing. If you're able to sustain that or support it with your inventory, I definitely encourage that. And that's really what we saw a lot of success in. And the last is, utilizing other channels. So, we, of course, the core of our business is Amazon, but we also, sell on Shopify and other D2C platforms. And this was one of the first times that we really were able to take advantage of that as well. So, as you guys probably know, there's increased e-commerce traffic in general during Prime Day. And, I think Prime Day has just become a part of like general shopping culture. It's not even just an Amazon thing anymore. And you guys probably see Best Buy and a bunch of other retailers like offering competing deals. And so, we were able to leverage that with some of our D2C channels too. So we offered promotions, after the Amazon promotion period was over, some similarly priced deals. We were able to utilize our email lists and even tried SMS to promote those deals. So those were some of the things that we did both to sustain the momentum, both on Amazon and off Amazon. And then some of the things that didn't work, and maybe, you guys probably saw something similar as well. Of course, the inventory restrictions were the big one, and something that I think we're all talking about. We had to cancel deals. We had storage limitations where we weren't able to support every single one of our products, and that was just the reality. And I think that's where planning and prioritization are really, really important. And then one of the more tactical specific things we saw is, not every deal is the same on Amazon. So we, tried running Prime exclusive discounts or PEDs, lightning deals, and then also just coupons. And what we saw a lot more success with the PEDs and lightning deals because of the added badging you get on those two versus on the coupons that was just standard badging. And so that really helps with that Prime Day merchandising, as well as it taking placement on some of the specific deal pages during that time. So not sure if it's going to be exactly like that for holiday, but those are definitely a couple of things that we learned, at least from Prime Day.
Thank you, Malvika. A lot of great insights there. And before you dive into the holiday strategies, though, I wanted to quickly pause to get our audience's thoughts on this past Prime Day. So using the poll provided here, let us know what factors impacted your Prime Day results the most this year. Give everyone a minute to weigh in. Okay, so let's take a look at the results. I think the biggest thing, as you were saying, Malvika, inventory restrictions played a huge role. I think 43% of our guests here, or attendees here today have cited that, followed closely by supply chain issues at 36. So yeah, those have been big issues, and I think will definitely continue to be. So yeah, moving on, Malvika, into the 2021 holidays, I should say. What are some of your holiday selling tips?
Yeah. So, this should come to no surprise, just a quick chart of, just overall traffic on our listings of 2019 versus 2020. I mean, obviously, due to all of the reasons I'm sure everyone is aware of, we saw a huge, tremendous boost in traffic last year. Pandemic, lockdowns, less people shopping in store, et cetera, and just acceleration and adoption of e-commerce. So definitely something we're planning for this year as well, but it's just tremendous to see the huge ramp up. So preparation, a few big things. I'll get into a little bit more detail on each of these points. But I think the first thing for us is really just defining your goals. I think goal setting is very important, and having objectives for your brand or for your ASIN. With inventory restrictions that we predict, continuing forward, costs of goods increases, supply chain challenges, increase in prices of containers, and all the different things we've been hearing. It may not be for everyone to go big during holiday. And it's like, what is your objective? Is it to maximize profitability and stretch your inventory as long as possible? Or, are you well stocked, and do you have healthy margins to help support and run those promotions? Or maybe, you make most of your money during Q4, so this is your Super Bowl. It's really making sure it's not a one size fits all strategy. And I think that's really important, because it's easy to get caught up in the excitement. But again, we have to make some tough choices. So I would say definitely starting there. And then inventory. So again, we expect inventory and account level restrictions to continue. And because of that, we're prioritizing and what we're shipping into every single account. So, we forecasted and demand planned months in advance for this. And so now, again, we're working very closely with our supply chain team and inventory planners to make sure those shipments are being sent in time. And we're not necessarily flooding the account from like early on. We're sending the shipments in, at the right time, storing them at a 3PL prior to sending them to the Amazon FCs. We've also seen a lot of delays in receiving. So it's also important to make sure you're adding that buffer in as well. I know Amazon usually sets some kind of deadline of when inventory needs to be received before one of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or Prime Day. So being really mindful of those dates as well, and adding in some buffer, because I know that there's a lot of things that, not always in our control. So I think that's super important. And then, like I had mentioned with Prime Day, it's like signing up for all the Amazon promotions as possible. Sign up for your deals. I know they started this, the sign up started about a week or two ago, and they end about mid-September. But, I will say do it as soon as possible, because we have lost out on deals in the past by waiting even just a couple extra days. Maybe we were thinking through like, okay, let me just double check if I have the inventory, or if, maybe I don't like the pricing Amazon's offering, so I don't want to jump on it. Oftentimes what's happened is we've missed the window for that specific product, for example, and then maybe the deal was likely offered to like a competitor in the same category. So I would just say, sign up for whatever's available for you, unless you absolutely know you're not planning to run it. And then, if you need to, obviously you don't want to do this with everything, but if you need to, just cancel before that window. I think that's something that we've learned. And then once you have signed up, I think it's really important to make sure you're managing your pricing really closely, right? So with lightning deals, 7-day deals, usually we need to price at, a little bit lower than our trailing 30 days, 15 to 20%. Roughly. So it's, if you are planning to run additional deals or change pricing leading into that, make sure you're accounting for all of that into your margins is super important. And then I think the big one is really then just setting up your listings for success. And I think this is where a lot of the work, can be done now and today. I think the first is, I assume most of you are close to the seasonality and the big trends of where your products and brands go, but it's important to understand what that season is. So for all of our brands and products, it may not necessarily be November, December. Maybe it's a fitness product and January is the peak that's selling, or maybe it starts in October. Whatever it may be, like understand what that seasonality is, and make sure you're doing a lot of the things that I'm about to go into like 6 to 8 weeks before that. To make sure we're fully prepared. So, once you've determined, okay, the peak season for my product starts in mid-November. So maybe, by early October, end of September, you're starting to look at your keyword rank and make sure that, you're ranking for the top keywords that you need to for your products. And if not, improving and refining titles, looking at your bullet points, maybe looking at your subcategory rank. There could be an opportunity where for another relevant subcategory, you may be able to gain a bestseller badge or improve your category rank. So making those switches well in advance to the holiday period. Looking at holiday keywords or seasonal keywords that make sense, adding those into your back end or front end as soon as possible. Like all of these tactics can definitely help improve visibility of your products. And I would just say, make sure you're doing all of that in advance. Creative is also, one way that, can be a really inexpensive way to make your product really stand out. So here's one example. TrailBuddy is the #1 trekking pole on Amazon. And during the summer months, we usually have imagery that has, it's green and shows the sun in the summer. And then in the winter, this may not be necessarily Christmassy or giftable, but we changed the imagery with a seasonal background showing, snow-capped mountains and winter and snow to make sure that we are still, showing that this is a very much relevant product during a different season. Similarly on other products, we may add a bow, or we may add a Christmas tree, or may add some, we have a brand that we have, it's like different cocktail accessories. So maybe we're showing like drink eggnog recipes in our listing, just some ideas. So definitely get creative. And, these are things you don't necessarily need to go shoot. You can do them really inexpensively with stock imagery and just some graphics, and can add a lot to conversion rate. And then going back to the previous slide, oops, there we go, sorry. PPC as well, we expect in talking to our PPC team at Thrasio, we continue to expect PPC to be very competitive, cost to increase, particularly around sponsored products and sponsored brand video. So, what our plan is to build more sponsored display in advance, and then any new placements that Amazon may come out with, we definitely want to try to adopt as soon as possible because they likely won't be as competitive. And then the last thing is just have an offense and defense strategy. I mean, for those of you who sell on Amazon, as you probably know, like things can go wrong on Amazon, right? So it's whether it's your deal being canceled last minute or a suspension or a suppression or whatever, you don't want to be trying to get all of that together during like the biggest traffic time of the year. So whether it's being prepared with a flat file or a plan of action for a suspension you may have, or having the right backup documentation, like an invoice that you may need to submit. Just having all of those ready, saved in one place, or is super important, and something that we've learned, I would say, the hard way. And then again, if your deal gets canceled or something happens and you aren't able to recover it, having that backup plan, maybe you already have a coupon set up so that it, if your deal gets canceled, it's already set to run, or exactly what you want to do in the event that happens. I think it's really important, especially on Amazon, to have that defense strategy. And then offense, and watch what competitors are doing, and set alerts. We use a tool called Keepa, so see what deals competitors are running or when they're running them. Look at if they're lowering price, if there's something that you need to do to combat that, or proactively or reactively. I would definitely do that. Sign up for your competitors' newsletters. They may also have like a D2C site and an email list. I would sign up for those newsletters to see what promos they're running, and also just like click into their listings on Amazon so that you're getting their retargeting ads and you're seeing what they're doing. And I'm sure all of us have those one or two top competitors that we're constantly watching, but there's a lot of new guys too. So I would make sure that you're really familiar with who's popping up on your page one, and maybe in the beginning of November, there's the little guy who's at the bottom of page one, but who knows, by the end of the month, they could be a top 5 competitor for you. So it's really important to keep a close eye on that. And I think kind of the overall message here is just be able to be flexible, and have the ability to pivot. I think one of the other things that we definitely do, because again, we've had to learn the hard way, is we try to not touch our listings or make any changes a week before any big period. So before Prime Day, we weren't uploading new creative, we weren't changing any titles or doing anything unless completely necessary, messing with pricing or anything like that, at least a week in advance, just to avoid any potential issues. So that's definitely worked for us. It's not always perfect, but again, that's where the advanced preparation really helps. Well, I'll turn it over back to you, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Malvika, for all these wonderful tips and insights on Prime Day, Q4, and the holiday selling on Amazon. Really appreciate it. And again, if you guys would like to learn more about Thrasio, please feel free to visit the link provided here. And additionally, before we get started with the Q&A portion of the afternoon, if you would like to learn more about Feedvisor and our holistic, AI-driven platform and intelligence for optimizing advertising and pricing, please visit us at the link here. We're happy to help you grow your Q4 success. And before we wrap up and head into our Q&A, let us know here in the poll provided if you'd like to learn more about Feedvisor and growing your Amazon business with Feedvisor and Thrasio. Thank you. Give everyone one more quick second to weigh in. Okay. So yeah, again, Malvika, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so insightful and educational. As we're turning things over to audience questions, if you haven't been able to submit your questions yet, please feel free to do so now. We actually have quite a few already in the can that we're really excited to talk through with you, Malvika. So first off, what are some of the ways Thrasio is dealing with those inventory restrictions we covered today?
Yeah. So some of the things I mentioned, obviously we've had to prioritize, we haven't been able to replenish every single ASIN within a seller account. But some of the other things we're trying to do more proactively is sending shipments to a 3PL before we send them to Amazon, and replenishing more frequently instead of sending in big shipments, which we haven't been able to do, of course, with a lot of the restrictions. And I would say, something else that you can just proactively do is just managing your IPI score really closely. All of the different factors that impact IPI, looking at your excess inventory and removing it when necessary. Improving your sell-through rate, like anything with a sell-through under 2. I would definitely look at how you can improve, whether it's through, reducing price or increasing PPC, whatever it may be. Sell-through is definitely really important from what we've seen in impacting IPI score. Disposing stranded inventory, those are the different things that I would stay close to, because we, again, continue to expect these restrictions to happen. So I think as much as we can do proactively to improve the metrics in our accounts, the as important it is.
Definitely. Now, in terms of external traffic to listings, what are some of the strategies that Thrasio employs to drive traffic to those listings?
So some of the things that we do outside of on Amazon, PPC and things like that, affiliate. So, working with publications like, let's say, like a BuzzFeed or a Yahoo to get some of our products placed and really help drive traffic to those Amazon listings. We've seen a lot of success with that. Google PPC, Facebook, and then, so I'm doing some influencer partnerships as well, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok. Those are all different things that Thrasio has been doing to drive external traffic.
Definitely. I think we have time for a couple more quick questions here. The next one from our audience, in terms of canceling holiday deals, can you talk a little bit more about sort of those situations, why you would or why you wouldn't? How does that situation go down?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely had to make some tough choices in the past on canceling Prime Day or holiday deals. And, like I said, it kind of goes back to your goals. And, despite the potential for, Black Friday or Cyber Monday or Prime Day or whatever it may be being a potential big sales day, I think the two factors that we look at that really go into the decision are profit and inventory, right? So if the deal price that you plan to run or that Amazon is offering is really going to lower your margin, you're going to be unprofitable, or, maybe you're selling a little bit above break even, but you could sell that at full price and still, make more money, especially if it's like a seasonal product. Those are the decisions when it comes to profit that we're looking at, does it really make sense? And the second is obviously inventory. So if we have enough inventory to, let's say, cover the day of the deal, but then we don't have enough after that, and we know that we won't be able to replenish fast enough, those are probably reasons where we would, we may not think that it's the best strategy to continue running the deal as much as, we would like to.
Great. And I think we have time for one more quick question for you, Malvika. And it's around sort of the impact that you expect around FBA restock limits. What type of impact do you see that having on the marketplace? And what advice would you give sellers to better prepare for this unknown around sort of FBA limitations?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely have a backup plan, right? So whether it's, looking at other fulfillment methods that if you aren't able to store your inventory and send it into Amazon, whether it's through FBM or Seller Fulfill Prime, one of those things, I would say, I think what we've learned in general is always have a backup plan. Like I had mentioned earlier, so if you can send inventory to a 3PL and just replenish as frequently as possible. And stay close to your IPI score and different metrics, and make sure your account is in just the best standing. Because as Amazon redoes, every week or so calculates limits over and over again. The best you can do is making sure that those metrics, you're in the green for all of them. So just if you're not, familiarize yourself with all of those and come up with tactics to, again, increase sell-through, remove your excess, look at your stranded inventory, all the things that impact IPI score and your account.
Definitely. Well, thank you again, Malvika, for answering all of our questions and for all that incredible insight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And again, definitely. And once again, thank you for everyone who joined us this afternoon. If we didn't get a chance to answer your questions, a member of our team will be in touch soon to answer that. And one last time, again, thank you, Malvika, Thrasio, for this super insightful webinar presentation. I know I learned a lot about preparing for the holiday season on Amazon, and I hope you all did as well. Thank you again, everyone, and just have a great rest of your day.